pollution, which is a major problem, and then other water scarcity scenarios. But first, let's go to Elvis to put us in the picture with what's happening in the world of news.
The Transport Minister expresses grave concern over the high number of female drivers who have been reported dead in road crashes because of drunken driving. 26 protesters demanding that President Joseph Kabila step down are reported to have been shot and killed by security forces in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. An Islamic State claims responsibility for an attack in which a truck plowed into crowds in a Christmas market and killed 12 people in Germany. Now, those are all your headlines, but before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening on the sports front. A very good morning, Kendall.
Elvis, a hearty good morning. Yevon, good morning to you as well. I don't know how good it is for you, considering that your team didn't do as well as one would have expected last night.
Yeah, no, they went into the holiday break a little bit early. I think that's what kind of happened last night. But we'll take it on the chin, you know. It's a defeat. We're still the greatest side in the history of South African football. So we're happy to be Orlando Pirates.
You know, I love it. I love it when a fan stands up for his team, come through thick or thin, rain or high water. Yevon will be a Buccaneer for life. Good morning to you. This is what we've got for you in the sports. In the PSL, Bloem Celtic cannot believe their luck as they mark the mighty Buccaneers in Orlando, bagging all 3 points.
Will be absolutely delighted.
The judge found no substance in the fact that Western Province, or the claims that Western Province acted fraudulently.
The embattled Western Province rugby commercial arm gets a let-off as they finally get the liquidation order in the Cape High Court. And in tennis, two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova is recovering after undergoing successful surgery after she was attacked by a knife-wielding intruder in her apartment. All this and more I've got for you in detail later on at about 10:40. For now, it is back to Elvis, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Top story this morning. Nearly 850 people have been killed on the country's roads already this month. Now, this is a 17% rise in road fatalities when compared to the same period last year. KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo and Mpumalanga provinces recorded the highest number of crashes with drunk and reckless driving as the main causes.
Close to 900 people have died on the roads since the start of December. It's unprecedented. A lack of patience, bad attitudes, and a lack of consideration of the roads are the main behavioral traits by drivers. The Minister of Transport announced these preliminary results at a press briefing in Midrand on Tuesday afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are 845 fatalities recorded since the 1st to the 19th of December 2016, with an increase of 17% in comparison to the previous year.
What seems to be the most concerning is that a higher number of female drivers have been arrested for drunken driving, over 20% of them dying in road crashes.
It is necessary to urgently convene a meeting with all traffic chiefs and regional directors of provinces with high fatalities to engage and robustly confront the prevailing situation with a view of finding solutions and interventions to reduce these carnages and fatalities.
The cost to the country as a result of road fatalities is estimated at over 149 billion rand.
The scientific that was dealt with together with the CSIR and ourselves as the RTMC. Initially, you guys have been talking about 302 billion. We've done the scientific study and commuted the cost that comes to 149 billion per year.
With 2 more festive season weekends coming up, motorists have been given a stern warning. Obey the rules of the road or else face severe punishment. Nozindombi Mia, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, the Transport Minister, Depoor Peters, says that the issue of women dying on the road should be addressed. The minister says women are vulnerable, even as passengers.
Kikaya says a new president must be elected before Kabila may step down. Elections.
Now, police have recovered a firearm stolen during a violent protest outside the DRC embassy in Pretoria. A man grabbed the weapon during a violent clash between police and the DRC nationals. They are opposing the DRC president, Joseph Kabila's possible extended term in office. Well, it seems like let's just take a quick break and we'll be right back after that.
Give me that paperwork.
Where is your paperwork?
Like I'm everything, I don't know what's going on. Suddenly I'm locked up.
This is not fair, Senator Dwasezana. Not fair.
Who puts a rent 200? Have you put 200? Urwana, we won. 150, 150 plus. Koloi, Leon. Let me in another one, 150.
I'm just the one to lock you out.
Yes, you just want to lock me then out.
You are starting gangsterism.
No. No.
The South African National Defence Force has released the name of a South African soldier killed by rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 27-year-old rifleman Moalusi Albert Mokotu from the Free State province died during running battles with militia on Monday. The South African soldiers are there as part of a United Nations peacekeeping mission. The SANDF says its members came under siege from Malifia and Mai Mai guerrillas in North Kivu province. Meanwhile, the Congolese government official says it is impossible for President Joseph Kabila to step down tonight. The president's chief diplomat, Barnaby Kakaya, says that the move will result in a leadership vacuum. President Kabila's mandate ends at midnight.
Kikaya says a new president must be elected before Kabila may step down. Elections are not due until 2018. Foreign diplomats fear any escalation could trigger a conflict like the 1996 to 2003 wars that killed millions.
Tomorrow the president will be the president of the republic. He will remain the president of the republic because the constitution demands it. Doing otherwise will violate the constitution.
Hundreds of anti-Kabila demonstrators have defied a ban on marches against the president's plans to stay in office. They gathered in the capital Kinshasa amid a heavy military presence. They're demanding the president step down and organize elections that were due this month. At least 80 protesters have been arrested in Goma, eastern DRC. The UN Human Rights Office in Congo says those arrested are mostly activists wearing red shirts and opposition color. Police say 9 opposition demonstrators have been detained. The government and elections officials have blamed logistical and financial problems for the delay in the vote, currently scheduled for April 2018. Some opposition leaders have agreed that President Kabila can remain in office until then. The Constitutional Court has also ruled that the Congolese leader can stay on.
President Jacob Zuma has had a busy schedule, both domestic and on the international stage this year. From successfully steering the economy to avoid a credit rate downgrade to forging new relations with various countries and institutions around the world. He concluded his international program by attending the funeral of the Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Let's take a look at some of the highlights.
The death of Fidel Castro marked an end of an era. South Africa was among the first countries to pay its respect to the father of the Cuban Revolution. The country has long-standing relations with Cuba.
We join the progressive forces of the world in mourning and celebrating the life of this renowned internationalist and anti-imperialist who selflessly supported the struggles of the oppressed and exploited. The passing of Comrade Fidel is a painful loss for South African people. He stood with us in solidarity, supporting our struggle, including the international campaign to isolate the apartheid regime.
The lifting of economic sanctions against Iran is for South Africa. President Zuma immediately re-established trade relations. They claimed the vocal supporter of Iran during its isolation.
از رئیس جمهور آفریقای جنوبی جناب آقای جاکوب زوما.
South of Iran, the president ties with the world's largest oil producer, Saudi Arabia, on his visit to the kingdom, an arms factory, and signed a number of agreements. The visit to the state of Qatar further strengthened relations. A wide range of issues and projects in water, energy, and agriculture were discussed. The president's focus was not only on the friends in the East. Traditional trading partners were also on the radar. He paid a state visit to Europe's biggest economy, Germany, and then France, where he unveiled the Delville Wood Memorial in honor of South African soldiers, black and white, who died during the First World War.
National salute! Present! Arms!
The Nigerian state visit was seen as an attempt to mend relations between the two African powerhouses. Zuma addressed the joint session of the National Assembly of Nigeria. President Zuma and newly elected Muhammadu Buhari's relations could be vital in bringing stability to the continent. The state visit to Kenya saw 6 agreements and memoranda of understanding signed. Zuma called on the business community to increase investments in Nairobi. But with a sluggish global economy outlook, South Africa cemented its economic prospects at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where government, business and labor fought for investment support. At the 3-day G20 summit in China, Zuma called for peace and security in order to advance meaningful economic growth. Hence his efforts in the Great Lakes region and peace negotiations in the Libyan process. And the African Union Summit in Kigali in Rwanda saw the issuing of African passports to the leaders. This to ease movements among the continent's people. Mzondi Limbech, SABC News.
And that's your news for now. Now remember that we're asking you a question today. You've seen violent protests in the capital city of Pretoria yesterday by DRC nationals. They are not very happy with President Kabila going for a possible 3rd term. So the question that we pose to you on your screen right now, we are asking you, what are your views around this issue? There you have it on your screen. As you can see, the violence in Pretoria yesterday. And as you know, a firearm was taken from a policeman, and the firearm was retrieved again. It was a loaded firearm. Some of these nationals, a number of them has been, there you go, violent Congolese protests in Pretoria on your screen right now. What are your views? Let us know on the Twitter handle as well as on the Facebook page. But we're also running a poll, of course, and that's on a very scarce resource. There is some tweets around this, so let's take a look at that and let's see if we have them there.
People are interacting live quite a bit with this question, and it's kind of emotive images that you see in the capital Pretoria of the protest. Adriel Banza says, Newsroom, we are scattered all over the world because it's tough to live at home. Most of us want to go back to the DRC. Interesting one. Benny Tolela Longo says, Newsroom, South Africa has economic interests in the DRC. South Africa should act to preserve peace and stability by asking Kabila to resign, talking about the Congo crisis. Adriel comes back. As a Congolese, I condemn any violence. Congolese should protest peacefully. However, Kabila has to go. That's a very sobering sentiment there. Benny comes back. He says Pretoria played a crucial role in bringing peace in the DRC. Zuma and the AU should ask Kabila to step down. These are being tweeted live as we speak right now. So there's massive interest in what we are talking about, of course, protests in, in the capital here of Pretoria. Also, well, South Africa has a water scarcity problem, we all know that. But right now, South African water quality is also coming under the spotlight. Now, the University of Limpopo's Water and Sanitation Department under Trevor Mulaudzi says it is possible that we are drinking polluted water here in South Africa, because even when the water is clear, this doesn't mean that it's clean. Mulaudzi is also the vice president of the World Toilet Association that's based in South Korea, which promotes the decency of public toilets across the world. Locally, Mulaudzi has started the South African Water and Sanitation Academy to teach people about toilet maintenance and ecological sanitation technologies. To tell us a little bit more about how water pollution originates from our homes, we were earlier joined from our studio in Polokwane by Trevor Mulaudzi himself.
It's a matter of people not knowing what happens when they flush their toilets. If you ask people in the streets or in Johannesburg or in the offices and say, after using the toilet and you have flushed, where does it all go? Many people have got no clue at all. It's a silent crisis because our waste goes away in pipes which are under the ground, and the waste go to a wastewater treatment plant, which majority of them here in South Africa are dysfunctional. And the water is not properly cleaned up before it's released into our drinking water, which are the rivers and the dams. And that's where the problem is, especially because there's too many chemicals we are using at home these days. From toothpaste, nail polish, hair shampoo, bubble bath, dishwash, whatever. And it all goes away with one pipe, which is the sewer pipe. And those chemicals, when they are in our dams, it's very, very difficult to remove all of them. So they end up coming back into the kitchen and we drink it from the tap. And recently we visited the water purification plant for Groundwater in Vereeniging. If people can go and see what is happening there, it's a very, very expensive process to clean all the rubbish which we throw in the water.
And we take
the other problem that...
and we take for granted. I wanted to ask you, sorry to cut your word, but you've made a very famous statement now here in South Africa. You say, even when the water looks clean, it is not clean. It does. You are compromising your health when you drink this water. Just tell us, what do you mean when you said the water might look clean, but it's not clean?
What I say is that clear water doesn't mean clean water. It can be very clear, but the impurities inside, there are so many things which are in our water. If you take our water to the laboratory, you'll find a lot of things, medicines. I'm talking about, for example, although many people say, you know, I mustn't say things like this, ARVs. The residue of the ARV tablets which people are using, they come out with our urine, straight into the toilet, and we flush it away. And those chemicals are very, very difficult to remove from the water. Our municipalities don't have perfected technologies to remove almost 30,000 different chemical compounds we throw into our rivers on a daily basis. Grease from the roads, dead dogs. Like now when it's raining, all the rubbish is washed straight into our rivers. And we sympathize with our municipalities and the water services authorities that how do you clean all this rubbish that is going into the water before you bring water to drink? So we've come up with solutions at the University of Limpopo. We are promoting dry sanitation, that let's go the route of not using water to get rid of our human waste. People are the only species in the world that defecates in perfectly clean drinking water. And it doesn't make sense. Why should we defecate in clean water? And then try and clean the water and remove our waste.
Yeah.
Why do we start with polluting in the house?
Can I ask you then this? Can I ask you, are we serious about water pollution in South Africa? We know it's a problem with industrial waste, with cleaning sewage facilities and the like. Are we serious about water pollution? And do we know enough as the public?
No, we don't. We don't at all. We're not serious enough. We've got very good policies. Even the Constitution says everybody is entitled to clean, lovely environment. But if you look in our communities, I mean, if you go to informal settlements and see water everywhere, always wet because people don't have proper sanitation. So we are not doing it properly. I mean, if you go to countries like South Korea, where I visit very often, they even banned sports in the dams. No more allowed. They are even buying out hotels around the dams because they say the scarcity of water internationally is so huge that you can no longer play in the water.
That is
and we have to come up with very strong policies and implement. We don't have sanitation engineers in this country. And the University of Limpopo is the only university that has got a BSc degree in water and sanitation. And we've got very good students who are coming out, who know all the modern technologies. But unfortunately, they are all sitting at home unemployed, while there's so much work for them in their communities. So the only way we are saying dry sanitation, where we can harvest the human waste, urine and feces, and convert that into fertilizers, biogas, electricity. We have just been taught a new technology from South Korea where they make cement from human feces. Cement to build buildings.
That's very interesting.
And we need that.
That's very interesting, Mr. Mulauti, but we've run out of time. We're gonna come back to you at the University of Limpopo because you are going to have to lead this. You're going to have to lead this process and this charge for us in South Africa. That, of course, is Mr. Trevor Mulauti. He's from the University of Limpopo, and he's saying to us we need to find better ways to deal with human waste and, of course, the problems we're having with industrial waste in our fresh water resources here in South Africa. If we don't, it will become a massive, almost insurmountable problem in this country. Yeah, that was recorded a little bit earlier. 98% of South Africa's rivers are polluted. That is the scary number. So we're asking you, well, our water resources, pardon the pun, are under the pump. Have you implemented water-saving measures at home? Because we all have that duty. What are you doing? 65% say, yes, we have. And wonderful work, guys. That's what we have to do. 20% say, no, I haven't. Well, you should be thinking about it. And out of 120 votes, 15%, that's about 17, 18 votes, they're saying, for what? It's raining. There's a place in the sun for everyone, I suppose. Even those who think that in South Africa we will have infinite water. A couple of tweets coming in. This one from Siwapiwe, he says, yes, I've implemented water savings measures at home. Then Andile Mtamboanzo says, some people are still using pipes to wash pipes to wash their cars or to have fun. They shouldn't be, Andile. We need to find ways to save water. Elvis, you've just rejigged matters at home to work a little bit better with water, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, Eben, the point is that we all need to look at ways on how to save water,
Yeah.
especially clean water, right? And we are trying to do some rainwater harvesting. So I'm going to put in a tank, about a 5,000 litre tank, so we can harvest that water and utilize that for our garden and even for some of the toilets as well.
You don't get more flies and more mosquitoes if you have this kind of tank, or is it a closed
Well,
tank?
if you have an open tank, if you have an open piece, then of course that'll happen, because in the pond you would find that there's always flies and mosquitoes and that sort of thing. But in a tank, you know, it's regulated, and of course you have a pump, so you generate the water all the time. So yeah,
we all have to do our bit to save water. Yes, save water. But let's have a look what you can get on all the hashtags to look at on social media right now, of course. Big one right now is traffic. Tomorrow we'll talk to all the authorities about this alarming statistic. So far there's been a 17% increase in road accident fatalities. Yes, around 845 people have died. Now just this morning a taxi carrying 14 passengers crashed into a tree south of the Verkeerde Vlei Plaza, and then 3 people died when 2 trucks collided at Winburg. You can follow our traffic reporter Rob Byrne at Traffic SA for updates. Be careful on the roads out there. It's carnage right now and the numbers are going up. So we're a bit worried why the numbers are going up when we're doing all these campaigns. Then, of course, the big one here today, protests erupted outside the DRC embassy in Pretoria yesterday. The hashtag there is the DRC protest. A group of Congolese citizens were marching against their president, Joseph Kabila, here in Pretoria. Kabila's term ended this week, but he remains in office. Now, this image is captioned, Herman Mashaba, be like Ngishilo, which means I told you so. And Constance says, I don't understand. Joseph Kabila in the Congo is refusing to step down. Blows my mind. First Gambia, now the DRC. Then we go to South America now. Around 29 people have been killed and about 60 injured after an explosion at a fireworks market in Mexico. This is the moment the horror occurred, courtesy of CNN cell phone footage. Look at that pictures. Then, of course, there is the aftermath of this mass explosion. It was an absolute nightmare that played out in the week of Christmas in Mexico. Of course, Christmas is still in the trends, following the news of the truck that drove into a busy Christmas market in Berlin, in Germany, killing at least 12 people and injuring close to 50. The Islamic State has since claimed responsibility for the attack. Now, this is the image of a news reporter. He circulated because a man on the phone behind him looking rather jolly despite the circumstances there. So all of these will be investigated in due course. Then an alert has been issued after an explosion was heard coming from a volcano in Alaska. Has all the geologists a little bit concerned that we might see a massive eruption there. Now, of course, our question today deals with a protest in the capital here in South Africa. DRC nationals are not happy about what's going on in their country. Joseph Kabila refusing to step down. They want to burn down the embassy in Pretoria is one of the things they say. We're asking you, what are your views with regards to that? We all have the right to protest anywhere in the world, but we never have the right to turn violent. We never have the right to turn violent, especially turn against the police here in South Africa. We're there to protect all citizens. Let's take a look at some of your comments with regards to the protests we've seen in the capital. Adriel Banza is a Congolese national here in South Africa. He says, this is the expression of millions of people who've been abandoned by the mafia that is led by Kabila. Those are very tough words. This one from Africa Unite says, Newsroom, South Africa is playing a big role in Africa by bringing stability in most of the countries. South Africa may help the DRC in this crisis. Adriel is back and he says South Africans should be concerned about what's happening in the DRC. Their efforts in the DRC must not serve Kabila's interest. Adriel Banza. Those are the tweets on our question of the day. What do you make of the anti-Kabila protest we see here in South Africa? We can confirm 26 people dead in the DRC, confirmed dead today following protests in and around the country there. Our picture of the day comes from Aurelia Bailey, and it's captioned, South Africa protests outside the DRC Congo's embassy in defiance of their president, Joseph Kabila, in Pretoria. AFP photo by Jan Wessels, I think. Now, a comment of the day. This one comes from Personal Truth, who says, Kvitova's hand injury by a knife-wielding burglar. Never take your special gifts for granted. Enjoy every moment. Yes, it's that time of the year where we have to be thankful for all that we have. There are so many people around us that are struggling. In fact, I think all of us are struggling in some way or the other. But the courts are still well open here in South Africa. Let's take a look at what is starting to become a little bit more quiet in Cape Town. A 24-year-old accused in the killing of a lesbian is expected to apply for bail in the Blue Downs Magistrates Court now. Noluvo Svelindawo from Drift Sands near Khayelitsha was murdered earlier this month. The body was dumped at a footbridge on the N2 with a gunshot wound. Now the accused faces charges of murder, kidnapping and housebreaking with the intent to assault. It's an interesting story because it happened smack bang in the middle of the campaign against violence against women and children, especially focusing those on the LGBTI community. We'll keep you updated on that story. First, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to see, well, what our water quality is like and extend the conversation around what you and I need to do to use water a little bit better.
This is SABC News Prime Time, live from Johannesburg. Police have made a massive drugs bust in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats. They seized Mandrax tablets worth 26 million rand. The 529,000 Mandrax tablets seized were hidden in an underground storage facility. A scavenging insect, which has destroyed tomato fields abroad, has been spotted locally. Several organizations are working together to fend off this potential catastrophe. In 2008, it jumped the Mediterranean from Spain and caused havoc in 15 African countries.
Well, we stay with our theme of today. We're talking about water pollution here in South Africa. And yes, as you heard, it's a major concern. In our interview a little bit earlier with the Department of Water Affairs spokesperson, about 800 municipal water treatment plants release raw sewage into the country's rivers. Now, to talk about groundwater as an alternative, we are joined by Bonani Madigizela. He's in our studios in Pretoria. He's from Water-Linked Ecosystems. A very good morning to you, Bonani. Thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, Eben.
Bonani, we know that pollution is a problem in South Africa and it's something that we are finding difficult to overcome. What is the picture that you guys are seeing and what are you putting forward as the alternatives?
Okay, yes, it's true that we do have a water pollution problem or challenge in the country. The research has proven that there are many sources of pollution, point source and diffuse sources in our systems in the country. Yes, the idea is to get the methods. That's what the Water Research Commission is doing, to develop methods of monitoring and measuring what is happening to our water resources.
What are the major water pollutants here in South Africa?
The list is endless. As research has just proven that now there are very tiny pollutants that we have been not measuring, like the endocrine disruptor compounds or many pesticides. There are obvious ones that we have been monitoring or developing methods over the years, like nutrients in the nitrates, phosphates category. We have various minerals, pollutants like pyrite, sulfuric acid, etc.
What is eutrophication? What causes it and what are the dangers to us as a society?
Eutrophication, by definition, really means a nutrient enrichment in a water system. It could be a dam,
it could be a river. When you have more than enough phosphates and nitrates going into that system, it gets enriched, and you have a following up development of algae, development of water hyacinth, which are the indicators that there is a problem in your system. Of course, you start to have problems with pumping that water, abstracting it and sending it to wherever you want, because there will be a green cover on the surface, which when it decomposes, it also releases a very bad smell.
Talk to us about groundwater. Why is it such a good alternative for us here in South Africa?
I would say groundwater is our bank, really. We should deal very much with methods and enforcement and compliance in avoiding the pollution that goes into our water systems, so that our groundwater as a bank for hard times, like we are going through drought now, we will be looking at the groundwater more and more. But most important is to save that groundwater as much as we can. Yes, we have got good resources of groundwater. Research has proven that in the country, and we can exploit that. But I want to emphasize that we should not rush into the groundwater that much. Where possible, let's first fix the pollution problem on the surface.
Talk to us about what needs to happen. What systems or what plan do we have to put in place to make sure that groundwater can be almost our guarantee going forward?
Groundwater resources needs to be protected. At least the level of pollution there is not as high compared to what you have on the rivers, dams, and wetlands and estuaries, and even the ocean for that matter. So I think we should go ahead and make sure that the groundwater resources are fairly protected. The mining activities do link our groundwater very much, and we end up with acid mine drainage, for example, which then once we have that sulfuric acid, we have an even much bigger problem, because your pH goes down very low. In fact, almost no living organism will survive downstream of that sulfuric acid if the concentrations are too high. So we need to protect our groundwater resources. The way we do mining should be the green mining approach, if you can take that within the context of green economy.
But now, in conclusion, we saw the report. Now, the report from the Department of Water Affairs themselves that they've released says 98% of South Africa's rivers are at risk right now. What's your advice to people who are living in and around these river systems and who depend on these risky rivers in order to do their day-to-day living?
That's very interesting, and it's definitely within the scales that we are talking about in research. The level of pollution in the rivers is very, very high. Of course, not all rivers. You know, rivers that are in the mountain areas are more in the pristine condition, a little bit cleaner than the main stem and the lower stems of the rivers because of the developments. But what I would suggest to people in the rural areas, fortunately, I'm also coming from there, and we still use that water, raw water, as it is from the river. People should allow that water to silt to silt out the sedimentation. There are methods to do that, simple methods. People should not drink that water if at all possible. If they have to, because as you said, they rely on, and that is very true, please boil that water. Please do some homemade treatment like use of chlorine. We have jig to at least reduce that. You know, it can be compared to a purification system that we have in the urban areas. But yes, many people in this country still rely on raw water in the rivers and wetlands.
Bonani, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom around water pollution. Interesting that he mentions jik. Yes, for every liter of jik, you can take any liter of water and put a cap of jik in it, shake it, and you'll be able to drink it immediately because it kills almost all known germs within that liter. That would be, of course, a fail-safe if you had no other option. But send us at SABC Newsroom some of your tricks to deal with water and the cleanliness thereof. Yeah, what are your tips? What are your water-saving tips? How do we manage water? Well, how do we manage it better? We can't drink any less. It's the most, well, it's the most important thing you'll do is drink water. There's our question of the day. You can keep the comments coming. We'll take a look at those comments a little bit later in the show, just before we close off the hour. But let's just go to our poll on water, because we're dealing with water. What are you doing to save water? And how are we cleaning water? Now, have you implemented water-saving measures at home? This is a very serious question. 2/3 of you say yes, we have, and that's fantastic to see. 19% say no, we haven't implemented water-saving measures at home. Even if you just close the tap when you brush your teeth, makes a big difference, you know. 15% of you say for what? It's raining. Yeah, it will come. Your time will come. When it is very dry, you will say, that's what we did. It's all of our responsibility. But let's move on and take a look what's on our Facebook page right now. On our Facebook page, you can find all of these stories and a whole lot more. We don't have our Facebook page, unfortunately. Let's go to the front pages from around the world. We'll start in China now. The South China Morning Post reports that the likelihood that Christine Lagarde will remain as managing director of the International Monetary Fund offers a rare sense of consistency and a friendly face for China in a tumultuous financial world that's turning increasingly hostile to Beijing. Then in Iran, the Tehran Times says Iran, Russia and Turkey issued a joint statement yesterday agreeing to try and broker peace talks between Syrian militants and the Syrian government and to expand the ceasefire in Aleppo to other parts of the country. Finally, in the United Kingdom, The Guardian reports that German police were last night hunting for an armed attacker suspected of driving a truck into a crowded Christmas market in Berlin. You're watching Newsroom. When we come back, we will take a look at one of the big polluters, acid mine drainage. Don't go away.
Now this is Trends, of course, your one-stop serving of all that's juicy and trending in the world of entertainment and showbiz. My name, of course, is Refill Wemulwa.
I'm Dr. Sello Mutaung, and this is Our Talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Media Monitor. I'm your host, Alicia Jolly.
My name is Dumila Matters.
William Mulabati.
My name is Mpo. What time is it? It's question time.
For your daily dose of current affairs, tune in to the SABC News Channel.
Lesotho Queen Masinate led Remembrance Sunday celebrations in the capital of Lesotho, Maseru.
This is the Makwanyane Square. It is a monument established to pay tribute to Basotho soldiers who fought and died in the 2 world wars.
Lesotho played a key role supporting British forces during the war.
Use of intravenous drugs such as heroin are on the rise on the Cape Flats. That's according to employees of a local drug treatment facility, the Sultan Bahu Center.
The facility treats 132 people on a daily basis through its community-based program.
I don't say the area is bad, it's how the drugs is so bad.
So we are saying to them, if you have that issue, come to us, contact us.
Hello again. Of course, we're dealing with water and water pollution today. Now, acid mine drainage is the flow of polluted water from old mining areas. Depending on the area, the water may contain toxic heavy metals and even radioactive particles. The consequences of acid mine drainage include the degrading of the quality of our water systems, of poisoning of food crops even, and the destruction of wildlife and other ecosystems. Now, to talk to us about acid mine drainage, we are joined in studio by Mariette Liefering. She's the CEO of the Federation for Sustainable Environment here in Johannesburg. A very good morning to you, Mariette, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Mariette, just tell us quickly the effect. Talk to us about the effect that mining has and the mining has had on South Africa's water sources.
Yes, it was found by the European Environmental Bureau and the United States Environmental Protection Agency that the second greatest risk next to global warming is in fact mining waste. The reason for that is the profound, often irreversible impacts of mining on ecosystems. It has also been found that, and it's widely accepted, that acid mine drainage is the most costly socio-economic and environmental impact. But to perhaps make it more relevant to South Africa, we have a legacy of 133 years of gold mining. It has left a legacy of mining basins that are now flooded or flooding with acid mine drainage or acid mine water. That is as a result of the sulfide-bearing materials. Coal mining has the same impact. It has been found by the reconciliation strategies of the Vaal River system that there will be a growing deficit of water in the Vaal River system, and here I just interpose that the Vaal River system supplies water to approximately 45% of the population and 60% of the economy. Yeah. So there is this growing water deficit in the Vaal River because of the growing salinity. Acid mine drainage, you refer to it as containing metals in toxic concentrations, as well as radioactive metals such as uranium, but it also contains very high loads of sulfate or salinity. The Orange River, also the reconciliation strategies for the Orange River, also indicated a growing deficit as a result of increasing salinity. Now, at the moment, approximately 200 million litres per day of highly saline, neutralized acid mine water are being discharged into the Vaal River system. In order to dilute the high salinity to make the water fit for use, that is for agriculture, for economic use, for Eskom's electricity uses, or for potable use, there has to be one could say a dilution of the high salinity, and that water comes from the Vaal Dam, releases from the Vaal Dam, and the Vaal Dam receives its water from the Lesotho Highlands Phase 1.
Now I want to talk about the mining industry. Have they been honest with us over the last 130 years, as you've said, but I'm more interested in the last 20 or 30 years about the effects that they've been having on our water sources?
Yes, for the legacy part, I can answer regarding that perhaps firstly. The mining industry was based on an externalization of cost model. In order to make profits or to maximize the profits, and I may just mention here that the South African apartheid government, also in collusion with the mining companies during the apartheid years, they authorized the dewatering of mining compartments. The mine water was seen, or the water, groundwater, was seen as a liability to be discharged as cheaply and quickly as possible. Acid mine water was, of course, a known phenomenon since 1903. But in order to maximize profit, the long-term impacts of acid mine drainage had been externalized. So there was no financial provision made for the treatment of acid mine water from source during the lifetime of mining operations. So when mining operations close, or when a mine is abandoned, or if there is a liquidation, a winding up, then those costs of the treatment of mine water were externalized to mute environments or to financially beleaguered municipalities or to future generations. So this was the legacy of mining. Some of the last men standing now, we have a few last men standing within the gold mining sector. They are very aware of the legacy issues, and there are among some of these companies, such as Sibanye Gold, now a proactive management. They are currently carrying a third of the cost of the treatment of acid mine water within the Western Basin.
How are we doing with this cleanup process, if we can call it that?
For 10 years, from 2002 to 2012, August 2012, there was nothing done. The acid mine water flowed with devastating consequences into receptor dams, into rivers. It resulted in rivers becoming class 5 rivers, that is high acute toxic river systems, in some receptor dams becoming declared radioactive dams with uranium levels up to 40,000 times above natural uranium levels in fresh water. But in 2012, the government decided on the short-term and immediate treatment of acid mine drainage by means of neutralization. This is an incomplete method of treating because what happens, it merely adjusts the pH. The water is no longer acidic, it becomes alkaline. With this pH adjustment, it allows the metals to precipitate. These metals that are in toxic concentrations and also radioactive metals. The metals do not disappear. They simply change from a soluble form into a solid form. And these metals are then disposed again underground, or in the case of the Central Basin, on a tailing storage facility, which these metals can again be mobilized and solubilized if the water becomes acidic.
In conclusion, what do we need to do next here in South Africa? What would you like to see happen next?
The acceleration of the desalination of acid mine water. Because of the growing deficit in the Var River, it is unreasonable to expect that we must use expensive water from Lesotho to dilute the high salinity. Acid mine water must be treated from source, and the polluter pays principle, also the retrospective application of the polluter pays principle must be enforced. It is unpalatable, it is inequitable, it is unreasonable to hold the public responsible and the last men standing, that is the last mining companies in the Witwatersrand, responsible and liable for pollution that had been caused over 130 years by more than 120 mining companies.
Mariette, thank you for joining us today and putting us in the picture as to what the picture looks like with regards to acid mine drainage. Of course, we heard from our department a little bit earlier that it's out of control pollution in general in our rivers systems, not just here in South Africa, not just here in Gauteng, but around the country. Thank you very much for joining us. Mariette Lieferink is the CEO of the Federation for a Sustainable Environment.
Here it is, the moment she turned the party into the party. Just look at them. They will talk about this for at least the rest of the evening. And, well, possibly once or twice tomorrow morning. So, to the master of the trick shot, you are indeed a party comrade, and we salute you with a bottle of Valentine's finest blended Scotch whiskey for just $144.99 from Tops at Spa.
Yeah, very good morning to you. It's just gone 10 o'clock, just after 10 o'clock Central African time. We're changing it a little bit because we've got an update on the situation in the Democratic Republic in the Congo. Let's just go to Jean-Noel, who is a journalist from Kinshasa. He's on the line to tell us what is happening in the DRC right now. Jean-Noel, a very good morning to you. Just give us a quick overview. What's the situation like there right now?
The situation is that things are slowly becoming, coming back to normal now after the demonstrations that have left at least 9 people killed. And the demonstrations that started during the night of Monday went on Tuesday. And 9 people have been killed. And according to the provincial government, the majority of people who have been killed were those who were trying to loot, especially those who were trying to break shops and other stuff. That's those who have been killed. Although there have been other innocent people who had been caught in fire, but the majority were those who were trying to loot. And besides that, there have been some arrests. The government has spoken about more than 50 people who have been arrested, but the UN mission here has spoken about more than 100 people who have been arrested. But as I'm talking to you now, the situation is coming back to normal. We can now see some taxis trying to move. And this situation wasn't the same yesterday and before yesterday, because it was even very, very difficult to catch a taxi to reach the town. That's indeed the situation this morning.
Jean-Noel, just give me a quick idea on the number. We've got reports here in Johannesburg that 26 people are confirmed killed. You say 9. Is there a discrepancy, a difference in the number?
This is the figure. Those are the figures that have been given by the provincial government, and precisely it's the governor of the town of Kinshasa, Mr. Andre Kimbuta, who gave these figures himself yesterday while speaking to the media. Mr. Kimbuta spoke about 9 people who have been killed, and these figures have been confirmed this morning by the spokesperson of the government, who is also the Minister of Media, Mr. Lambert Mende. And besides that, there haven't been any other source who could confirm this, but the only source we are relying to, as I'm talking to you now, is the official source.
Jean-Noel, thank you very much. He's Africa Channel correspondent in the DRC, giving us a quick update as to what is the situation there. Of course, we've seen protests even here in the capital of South Africa, Pretoria, by Democratic Republic Congo nationals unhappy with Joseph Kabila. So we've asked this question: violent protests in Pretoria. What are your views on that? There have been lots of views coming in. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at those comments that you are sending in to us with regards to what is happening here in Pretoria and then in Kinshasa. Adriel Banza says all the mass migrations movement have their root causes political instability and war, is what he says with regards to what's happening there. Madoda Lugela says they're doing a right thing at a wrong place, talking about the protest, the violent protest that was in Pretoria. Adriel Banza comes back. He says, just on Monday, a South African soldier was killed in the DRC as that young man died just to allow Kabila to stay indefinitely in power. Of course, Joseph Kabila's second term came to an end at midnight. He goes on, he says, starving people will always run to the green pasture. The root cause must be addressed. Be safe. Well, those are your views. Those are your views that you're sending through to us. Of course, we opened it up a little bit differently here today. Kendall Mahamati is still here, but we're joined by Rene West. Morning, Rene.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Kendall.
Hello. Yeah, that's a developing story right there, right now. We've also been running a poll, of course. The poll is regarding water-saving measures. Are you putting it in place at home? What are you doing to save water, Kendall? Are you surprised, Kendall, by what people are saying or the outcome of this, that so many people are not saving water yet?
Yeah, actually very interesting. When you add it all up, it comes up to 34% that are literally saying we're not saving water, 66% saying yes, we are. And the 15% that say for what? It's raining? That's a bit of a shock.
Yeah, at times ignorance is bliss. If you put your head in the sand, your problems will not go away. We have to work together to save water. South Africa is a water-scarce country, and the whole of Southern Africa is battling with water problems. But let's go to our top story now with Ray.
Transport Minister expresses grave concern over the high number of female drivers who have been reported dead in road crashes because of drunken driving. Protesters demanding President Joseph Kabila to step down are reported to have been shot dead by security forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the Islamic State claims responsibility for an attack in which a truck plowed into crowds into a Christmas market and killed at least 12 people. That was in Berlin, Germany. Before we get into that news, let's find out from Kendall what's happening in the sports.
Well, good morning, Rene. You might have missed this, but it's a big day where I can rag even on his team of choice, if I could say. Orlando Pirates Buccaneers at home, getting robbed by a team that lost 3-0 on the weekend as he walks off set. Good morning to you. This is what we've got for you in the sports. Bloom Celtic can't believe their luck as they mug the mighty Buccaneers in Orlando, bagging all 3 points.
Will be absolutely delighted.
The judge found no substance in the fact that Western Province, or the claims that Western Province acted fraudulently.
The embattled Western Province rugby commercial arm gets a letter as they finally get the liquidation order in the Cape High Court. And in tennis, two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova is recovering after undergoing successful surgery after she was attacked by a knife-wielding intruder in her apartment. All this and more I'll be bringing to you later on. I'll also be bringing in a pre-recorded interview I did with Limpopo Tseto, a young gymnast who's making waves in the world of gymnastics. For now, it is back to Renee, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Nearly 850 people have been killed on the country's roads already this month. This is a 17% rise in road fatalities when compared to the same period last year. KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo and Mpumalanga provinces recorded the highest number of crashes, with drunk driving and reckless driving as being the main causes.
Close to 900 people have died on the roads since the start of December. It's unprecedented. A lack of patience, bad attitudes, and a lack of consideration of the roads are the main behavioral traits by drivers. The Minister of Transport announced these preliminary results at a press briefing in Midrand on Tuesday afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are 845 fatalities recorded since the 1st to the 19th of December 2016, with an increase of 17% in comparison to the previous year.
What seems to be the most concerning is that a higher number of female drivers have been arrested for drunken driving, over 20% of them dying in road crashes.
Necessary to urgently convene a meeting with all traffic chiefs and regional directors of provinces with high fatalities to engage and robustly confront the prevailing situation with a view of finding solutions and interventions to reduce these carnages and fatalities.
The cost to the country as a result of road fatalities is estimated at over 149 billion rand.
Study that was dealt with together with the CSIR and ourselves as the RTMC. Initially, you guys have been talking about 302 billion. We've done the scientific study and commuted the cost that comes to 149 billion per year.
With 2 more festive season weekends coming up, motorists have been given a stern warning. Obey the rules of the road or else face severe punishment. Nozintombi Mia, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, Minister Dipuo Peters says the issue of women dying on the road should be addressed. Minister Peters says women are vulnerable even if they are only passengers.
Women drivers, we need to, like I say, working together with the Department of Women and the Department of Social Development, we need to do a deeper analysis. You would remember the last 2 years, we did give an indication that in Gauteng, the number of women who were arrested for drunken driving was also indicating an increase. So in this instance, it shows that even women, when they are in vehicles as passengers, they are vulnerable. They don't buckle up. They sit probably at the back seat and believe, like many people, that the back seat seat belt is a toy, is a decoration, it's not supposed to be used, because many people believe that. And that is some of the things that we need to look into. But also, if you look at the age groups, it means that this is young women. And if you look at the role that we have in society for women, if we are going to be losing them on our roads, then it must call for an investigation on why they tend to drink and drive, but also an investigation on why they are reckless passengers even when they are in vehicles. We believe women have been entrusted with the responsibility to give life, and women, where they are, should be a place where everybody should actually feel safe. So as a woman Minister of Transport, I believe that we will engage with the Minister for Social Development, we'll engage with the Minister of Women to be able to look at how we can address this particular matter in terms of the fatalities that affect women.
Police have recovered a firearm stolen during a violent protest outside the DRC embassy in Pretoria. A man grabbed the weapon during a violent clash between police and DRC nationals. They are opposing DRC President Joseph Kabila's position extended term in office.
A group calling themselves the Africa Diaspora Forum. They arrived heavily armed. Later, they stormed the embassy, breaking windows and damaging the main gate. The skirmish led to a police firearm being snatched.
No, I don't make firearm. I don't make firearm.
The police have managed to recover the firearm in Uvel, and the suspect has been arrested. You can imagine how fast these things is running when they've committed crime. But as much as we are on the ground, we have to manage to locate wherever they are.
And where is the suspect now, the gentleman that you found with the gun?
The suspect now is arrested, is detained in Cleveland, and is going to face the position of stolen firearm charges.
Now, earlier when I spoke to you, you did say that the firearm was loaded. Did you recover it in the same position? Does it still have all the ammunition in it that it was stolen by?
Yes, indeed, it was recovered as it is.
5 people were arrested and 2 injured.
Ben Poko, who's this Congolese ambassador, he does not have any right to stay again. Following our constitution,
South Africa cannot contain all Africa. And why are people continuing to come here? Because there is no peace, there is no democracy, there is no freedom. And the Congo today is an illustration of that.
The angry group are resisting Kabila's reign that's stretched over 15 years.
I'm coming here to protest because I want my country to be in peace. They send the police here. Why? We want to go to our land. That's the main purpose for which all these people have gathered here. We go to hospitals. We are not even recognized.
No one from the embassy was available for comment. Patricia Fasaki, SABC News in Pretoria.
The SANDF has released the name of a South African soldier killed by rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 27-year-old rifleman Mualosi Albert Mokotu from the Free State province died during running battles with militia on Monday. The South African soldiers are there as part of United Nations peacekeeping mission. The SANDF says its members came under siege from militia and Mai guerrillas in North Kivu province. Meanwhile, the Congolese government officials say it is impossible for President Joseph Kabila to step down tonight. The president's chief diplomat says the move will result in a leadership vacuum. President Kabila's mandate ends at midnight.
Kikaya says a new president must be elected before Kabila may step down. Elections are not due until 2018. Foreign diplomats fear any escalation could trigger a conflict like the 1996 to 2003 wars that killed millions.
Tomorrow the president will be the president of the republic. He will remain the president of the republic because the constitution demands it. Doing otherwise will violate the constitution.
Hundreds of anti-Kabila demonstrators have defied a ban on marches against the president's plans to stay in office. They gathered in the capital Kinshasa amid a heavy military presence. They're demanding the president step down and organize elections that were due this month. At least 80 protesters have been arrested in Goma, eastern DRC. The UN Human Rights Office in Congo says those arrested are mostly activists wearing red shirts and opposition color. Police say 9 opposition demonstrators have been detained. The government and elections officials have blamed logistical and financial problems for the delay in the vote, currently scheduled for April 2018. Some opposition leaders have agreed that President Kabila can remain in office until then. The Constitutional Court has also ruled that the Congolese leader can stay on.
Coming back home, Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi has vowed to help alleviate staff shortages at a crisis-ridden TB hospital in Limpopo. The Modimole multi-drug-resistant hospital shut its doors in September. Staff complained about protective masks the department had given them. They said it wouldn't prevent infections. The state-of-the-art hospital is one of 9 MDR hospitals across the country. The health minister says poor human resources and management contributed to the closure. Motsoaledi declined to give details on a recent patient death. He was sent home from the hospital. Limpopo MEC for Health, Dr. Popi Ramatsuba, quelled fears that TB patients are being neglected. Motsoaledi says the hospital will operate as a separate entity from next year.
The issue of the person who demised are clinical issues which are, please forgive me, I can't mention them in public. It's clinical. There are clinical issues which I've got them on the report here. I can see them clinical, but I'm not about to get tempted because you are pushing me to read and say this is what happened. Please forgive me for that. And I'm sure you'll understand that it's in the interest of the country and patients that we don't sit and read clinical issues publicly.
All our patients are safe. We only lost 1 patient, we still repeat, and that patient that we lost, we can't justify why the patient came to lose their life. But the rest of the patients are still alive and they are still safe. In fact, compared to previously, the mortality rate has reduced drastically.
President Jacob Zuma has had a busy schedule, both domestic and on the international stage this year, from successfully steering the economy to avoid credit rate downgrade to forging new relations with various countries and institutions around the world. He concluded his international program by attending the funeral of Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Let's take a look at some of these highlights.
The death of Fidel Castro marked an end of an era
South Africa was among the first countries to pay its respect to the father of the Cuban Revolution. The country has long-standing relations with Cuba.
We join the progressive forces of the world in mourning and celebrating the life of this renowned internationalist and anti-imperialist who selflessly supported the struggles of the oppressed and exploited. The passing of Comrade Fidel is a painful loss for South African people. He stood with us in solidarity, supporting our struggle, including the international campaign to isolate the apartheid regime.
The lifting of economic sanctions against Iran is for South Africa. President Zuma immediately re-established trade relations. They claimed the vocal supporter of Iran during its isolation.
از رئیس جمهور آفریقای جنوبی جناب آقای جاکوب زوما.
South of Iran, the president ties with the world's largest oil producer, Saudi Arabia, on his visit to the kingdom, an arms factory, and signed a number of agreements. The visit to the state of Qatar further strengthened relations. A wide range of issues and projects in water, energy, and agriculture were discussed. The president's focus was not only on the friends in the East. Traditional trading partners were also on the radar. He paid a state visit to Europe's biggest economy, Germany, and then France, where he unveiled the Delville Wood Memorial in honor of South African soldiers, black and white, who died during the First World War.
National salute! Present! Arms!
The Nigerian state visit was seen as an attempt to mend relations between the two African powerhouses. Zuma addressed the joint session of the National Assembly of Nigeria. President Zuma and newly elected Muhammadu Buhari's relations could be vital in bringing stability to the continent. The state visit to Kenya saw 6 agreements and memoranda of understanding signed. Zuma called on the business community to increase investments in Nairobi. But with a sluggish global economy outlook, South Africa cemented its economic prospects at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where government, business and labor fought for investment support. At the 3-day G20 summit in China, Zuma called for peace and security in order to advance meaningful economic growth. Hence his efforts in the Great Lakes region and peace negotiations in the Libyan process. And the African Union summit in Kigali in Rwanda saw the issuing of African passports to the leaders. This to ease movements among the continent's people. Mzondeli Mbech, SABC News.
2016 was an insane news year, both domestically and internationally. In the United States, many were shocked by the presidential election victory of New York businessman and reality TV star Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. Our United States correspondent Sharon Bryce-Peace reports.
Victory in November was arguably the most significant news event the world over in 2016. Time magazine agrees. Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May, or Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte, or even South Africa's Jacob Zuma might have strong arguments to counter that. But Trump's victory upended every policy hack political scientist, election pollster's analysis that this brash billionaire from New York could win the most powerful political office in the world. And to the horror of the millions hoping for the first woman president, Trump would win the Electoral College, lose the popular vote, and win the White House.
To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me.
Clinton, rebuked by a groundswell of white support for Trump, distractions over her use of a private email server, campaign cyber hacks and a failure to rally the levels of minority support that propelled President Barack Obama into the White House was yet magnanimous in defeat.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now. And to all the little girls who are watching this, never doubt that you are valuable and powerful and deserving of every chance and opportunity in the world to pursue and achieve your own dreams.
And while protests across the United States erupted against the prospect of a Trump presidency, U.S. intelligence agencies would later accuse Russia of a cyber campaign to undermine Clinton in favor of her opponent.
Suddenly being rounded up.
President Barack Obama has ordered a review of the election hacks, here in conversation with The Daily Show's Trevor Noah.
The reason that I have called for a review is really to just gather all the threads of the investigations, the intelligence work that has been done over many months, and put it in a single document that can be shared with members of Congress, relevant intelligence agencies. They can be shared with the transition team so that they understand what exactly happened.
Lives Matter movement was a constant part of the 2016 narrative as police shootings of minority groups continued. Some tallies have over 1,000 people killed at the hands of police this year alone, while 64 police officers at last count had been killed in the line of duty. Gun violence and mass killings, like the Orlando nightclub attack in which 49 people were killed, are a constant reminder of the battle that continues to better regulate gun use in this country. While South Sudan's implosion, Burundi's defiance, and ICC withdrawals would feature prominently, Syria has illuminated the failure of the Security Council to fulfill its role in the maintenance of peace and security. It would come down to a war of words between Russia and the West.
It should shame you. Instead, by all appearances, it is emboldening you. You are plotting your next assault. Are you truly incapable of shame? Is there literally nothing that can shame you?
What I find very strange was the statement by the US representative who built her statement as if she was Mother Teresa. Please remember what country you're representing. Remember your own country's track record, and then you can start opining from the position of any moral supremacy.
In some positive developments, the UN would admit its role in the Haiti cholera epidemic, celebrate one-year anniversaries of the adoption of the SDGs and the climate change agreements,
I, Antonio Guterres,
and elect a new Secretary General, a former Portuguese Prime Minister.
I believe it is high time to reconcile the people with political leaders and international organizations, to rebuild trust in our international community.
With tributes in the Security Council, the General Assembly and elsewhere, farewell to the man who led the organization for the past decade.
Even as I prepare to leave, my heart will stay, as it has since I was a child, right here with the United Nations. And that heart is greatly comforted knowing that I'm passing the baton to Secretary General Antonio Guterres, a man of integrity and principle.
With just weeks left, we shall soon say goodbye to the Obama first family, who will depart the White House for the Trump family. And perhaps this response from then Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld in 2002 on the lack of evidence for invading Iraq sums up what we might expect in 2017.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
But we'll be watching. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.
According to the report, some people believe that all healthcare and education will be better for the next generation.
Young people want a good life, should stay in their countries rather than emigrate.
Kenya is the world's leading exporter of black tea, but oversupply and variable weather conditions often lead to global price fluctuations.
Tea factories now need 20 hectares for specialty tea products to be licensed.
The South African cricket team has clinched a 2-0 Test series win over Australia on the 4th day of the second Test in Hobart. Now the Proteas recorded an emphatic victory, winning by an innings and 80 runs with more than a day to spare.
Stay tuned to News Today from 3 to 5:30 p.m. here on SABC News.
Bicycle Stockfell is to change how the hood is seen and to add more activities young stars can look forward to. They bring new experiences that will build them to better people in the near future. Now the minds behind the movement are Lesego Konupi, Lungile Mofokeng, Khotso Mdekani and Bongani Maleswane. The concept is simple and provides a platform to up-and-coming artists, musicians and entrepreneurs to showcase their talent. Now today, Khotso is in studio with us. Thank you for being.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about this Bicycle Stockfell. What exactly is this?
Okay, Bicycle Stockfell, it's like an initiative that we started in Fosloras. The moral of it is to change how the community see us as youngsters there and to inspire the people around the environment. So what we do is that we exhibit work like photography and stuff. So we paste them around our community to change the mindset and to change how youngsters think there. So we have social rides and then we have events right. We just had a one now on the 16th December. We're celebrating 1 year. So we invited like people from Pretoria, Joburg. So we're uniting every cyclist to Foslo and then we ride. So yeah, that's about it.
Is there a set route mapped out the area that people can follow?
Yeah, there are like routes that we take, like you can follow. The thing about Bicycle Stockfell is that when it comes to cycling, we encouraging people to ride in different environment and explore. So we like to exercise like the touring for slowers with youngsters and people who are invited to the event. So there is a route.
So you've been doing this now for about a year. How's it been going? Have you received a lot of support from the community?
Yes, with support, we have been supported by the community of Fosloras and we're proud of that. And people show much love from outside, like people from Kagiso, Soweto, because there are other groups that cycle. So what we do is that we set the date and then we invite them and they come in numbers. So the only struggle that we have been encountering is bicycles. We need more bicycles for the ride to grow. But with them like bringing support, they bring extra bicycles for people who need to ride. So there is support.
So I think a lot of people may have this idea of concern around safety. How guided are these tours and how safe are they?
Okay, in terms of safety, we are a group of 10. We have like 10 friends that marshal within the ride. So if I'm the leader or I'm the alpha and the leader, like I'll ride to a stop sign where I'll meet two riders that will block the road for the other cyclists to pass. So we control the safety part like within the group. So we know that we are responsible of everything that might happen there. And then we do have like traffic like cops like coming in from time to time.
Okay.
Yes.
I see on some of the visuals that we just had, there were some professional-looking riders and some locals, can we say. What are these routes suited for people from all kinds of experiences?
Yes, the routes are suited for everyone who can be on a bike. Basically what happens is that we want to encourage people to start cycling. It's not like we are racing, we're just having a ride. So what's happening with this is that we have classes where we teach people in the morning how to ride, how to be comfortable if the cars are coming, what to do. But it's just because we don't want to like narrow it down. Like we invite everyone who can cycle to come and have fun with us.
And what can people see on the routes that you set out?
Okay, what happens, this is what we do. When we ride, we have pit stops where we stop and we tell the story about the environment, about the area. So we pass through like certain big places around Vosloo where we will showcase our work. So we'll paste like A0 posters of meaningful images or images that will like change the mindset of a person. So there are stops where we teach them about the environment.
Are you planning on moving to other areas?
Yes, we are planning to move into other areas. In Eastern Cape, they sent us an email. They want us to have a bicycle Stockfell there. So we wanted to firstly start in Vosloo and move to other areas. So now we're still concentrating on Vosloo, but it's a dream. It's one of the goals to move around.
So you've had a great first year, but as you start up a business, there's usually some challenges. Tell us about some of the challenges that you faced this year.
Okay, this year the challenge is that like organizing the event itself, like the bicycles, like stuff that we need, like to print the work that we're collecting, and the venue where we're gonna host the event. Those are the mainly challenges that we're busy like trying to sort them out. So in everything that we do, we are keen for people who would like to sponsor with bicycles or just to help us push and change the environment.
So for those who are in and around Vosloo, how do they get involved in this bicycle tour?
In Vosloo, it's pretty easy because we're based there. They see us every day, so they easily connect with us via Facebook and Instagram. So on Facebook, we are Bicycle Stockfell, and on Instagram, we're still Bicycle Stockfell. So it's accessible way in Vosloo.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. A great initiative there in your local community.
Cool, thanks for having me.
There you have it. If you're in Vosloo, make sure you get on down to the bicycle Stockfell and go take a ride in your neighborhood. Well, it's time now to go over to Kendall. He's got your sports.
It reminds me of Proud Beginners Cycling Club as well, making sure that everybody gets to cycle and cycle for fitness as well as for pleasure. But hey, our big story for today is about the Absa Premiership. The title contenders Bidvest Wits were held to a 1-1 draw by 10 men, Maritzburg United and Pietermaritzburg last night. The result, however, has pushed Wits to the top of the standings ahead of Cape Town City. Now, in last night's other matches, Bloemfontein Celtic, who got thrashed 3-0 by Ajax in their last match, beat Orlando Pirates at the Orlando Stadium 2-1, while Highlands Park drew 2-2 with Platinum Stars. Let's have a quick look at tonight's fixtures. Tonight, as you can see, we've got Golden Arrows against Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs will be looking to make it 2 out of 2. Hopefully, they are on a winning streak. Their fans can stop singing struggle songs. At 6 p.m. is that kickoff time. Chipa United against Ajax Cape Town at 7:30 p.m. and Free State Stars against the current, former log leaders Cape Town City at Goble Park is now at 7:30 kickoff. Cape Town City will be trying to get a win to make sure that they can pull 3 clear of Bidvest Wits, where goal difference will make no matter. SuperSport United against Polokwane City and Lucas Moripe. And then on Thursday, the 22nd of December, Baroka FC against Mamelodi Sundowns, who've come back from the FIFA Club World Cup, have not registered a single win. Now, on to other stories. The best talent thrives when it's developed from grassroots level. And our next guest, Lebone Tsetlo, is a product of early development. She's a rhythmic gymnast who at an early age is already winning medals. Now, we spoke to the young gymnast and her mother shortly after they came back from Region 5's competitions in Zimbabwe to hear how it went. Good morning and welcome back. My guest today is a young woman who's earned herself a bag full of medals at the recent Region 5 rhythmic gymnastics competitions in Zimbabwe. A former ballerina, she found her calling in the world of gymnastics. Her name, Libone Tsetlo. She joins us this morning with her mother, Botlhale Tsetlo. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for coming through.
Morning.
I think first up, congratulations, Libone. Definitely in order. Yeah, you've done pretty well. I mean, how many medals did you actually end up winning out at this particular competition?
I won 4 medals.
You won 4 medals?
Yes.
And I see you've got a whole chest full of other medals as well. I mean, you've got medals from other places. The ones with the Zim flag, those are the ones that you won recently?
Yes.
All right. And what other medals have you won?
So some are from provincials, from regionals, nationals as well. And this one is from Region 5.
Region 5.
Yes.
All right. Now, if I remember correctly, you came first in a few of the categories, as well as helped South Africa to become top at the top team. How did that feel? It must have been a great competition for you guys to be involved in.
It was very good. It was a good feeling.
How big was your team that went through?
It was very big. Too many to count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, I had to check with your mother a little earlier. I believe you're 11 years old, yes?
Yes.
All right. Now, here's an 11-year-old who's gotten herself on the world stage. She's competing nationally, provincially, as well as inter-region within the SADC region. How does that make you feel as a mum, knowing that your daughter is at that level?
Oh, we're very proud of her. Just seeing her excel in what she's good at and what she loves. Because I always ask her, do you still love it? And she says yes. It's just getting guidance from her and makes us really proud.
Now, the training that she has to put in versus the schoolwork that she has to focus on as well, that must be quite a bit of a juggle for the both of you. I'm going to start with the mom, with you, Botlhale. How do you get it right?
It has been a challenge. For most of the year, we'd literally go from, she'd be doing sports at school, and then she would dash off to gymnastics. And later towards the year, when the competitions got more hectic, we actually chatted to the school and pulled back a bit on the school sports, and it enabled her to do her homework. Because she starts at 4, finishes at 7, so she's home by 7:30.
Wow.
So she must still, she'd need to do homework.
7:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
At 11, you're really doing the kind of work that elite athletes do in their late teens and early 20s. How does it feel for you to be so busy?
It's a bit hard of the balance, but I get through it because, because I take the time at home to do my homework.
Okay. And I suppose you've got support in terms of you've got an older brother?
Yes.
Yeah, your dad, your mom, your brother. And do they get involved with the work that you do, with the training? For example, who's the one person who's always dropping you off as you're training?
My mom's always dropping me off, and then my dad's picking me up.
Wow, it's a totally holistic effort. I mean, I suppose coach, mentor, psychologist, medic, logistical support, all done by the family. Pretty cool stuff. Now, in terms of being a gymnast, I mean, you're only 11 years old. I think it might be a little early in your life for me to say, okay, cool, what are your future ambitions? But do you have plans going forward as to what it is that you'd like to do with this sport, at least in the near future?
Hopefully to go to the Olympics, to compete for South Africa, because I've never seen a rhythmic gymnast competing for South Africa.
That's pretty cool. Now, you mentioned rhythmic gymnasts, and I think some people don't quite understand that there is a marked difference between rhythmic gymnastics as well as artistic and so on. Can you please help us understand rhythmic gymnast versus artistic gymnast? What are the differences?
Well, in rhythmic, we do more dances, and we're based on flexibility quite a lot, and we have to have a lot of balance.
Yes.
And make sure we catch everything. And in artistic, I also used to do artistic, so it's based on strength a lot.
Okay.
So you've got beam, you've got vault, bar, and floor, which you need to learn to do quite tumbling. Have a strong body.
And your thing that you're doing right now is rhythmic, which means that you're working a lot with the music. Now, in terms of choosing the music that you go with, how do you get that right?
It depends how you want the movement of your dance.
So if you want like a fast song, if you want a fast dance, you have fast music. If you want like a slow, graceful dance, you have slow music.
And you're looking at going into the Olympics in future. Is there a specific gymnast or athlete in any other code that you look up to and say, you know what, I really like their work ethic, I really like what they've achieved, I want to be like that person or better than that person? Are there any athletes or any one person that you look up to like that?
An athlete is Gabby Douglas.
Gabby Douglas. Oh yeah, no, she's absolutely amazing. She had a very good Olympics. In fact, she's been great at the World Championships as well. And why her specifically?
Because of the way she works with like competing. She doesn't really struggle.
Yeah.
She's quite strong.
Yeah, no, she's strong, you're right. And I've seen that the way she does her work is very fluid and she seems to make everything effortless. And talking about effortless, it's not something that comes, that's very difficult for you, Butlali, because you were an athlete of sorts in your day as well, were you not? And clearly you've passed the genes on to your child.
Yeah, I guess the thing that's helped is to quickly sort of identify what your kids love. And they sort of show you. So I remember there was a time she was doing ballet and gymnastics, and they were clashing, so we had to choose one. And we just sort of pulled back and watched what she does. And a lot of the time, she was tumbling and doing splits, and so it became easier for us to actually just sort of direct her in where she wanted to go.
No, very good. I want to thank you so much for coming through. Now, in closing, people that want to take up the sport, what Libon is doing and so on, I mean, how early did you start? How like when you started doing ballet and gymnastics, how old were you?
When I started ballet, I was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then I started artistic when I was 9. And then I started rhythmic this year.
And you're already winning medals?
Yes.
My word, an absolute natural. Very cool. So people that want to actually follow in your footsteps and maybe do ballet or maybe do gymnastics as well, what do they do and where do they go?
So there are lots of gyms around. So you can, I mean, the gym she goes to is Prima, it's in Randburg, and they do rhythmic. And then before that, she was at Paragon, which focuses on artistic. So they just Google all the gyms or even go to South African Gymnastics Federation to see the list of clubs there.
And as a parent, what are you looking for when you're about to take your child to a gym to work out and actually get into the sport? Because there's so many things that you think about: the child's safety. Yeah. Are they going to take care of the child's body? Are they going to make them do splits before they're really ready? And so on and so forth. What do you look for when you choose a gym? Say, look, my child is safe here.
You sort of start to see trends with gyms that are really strong. So there'll be some that are very good at artistic, and so a lot of the gymnasts from there are winning. So it's a sign of how strong the coaches are. And it always helps to sort of stay around and sort of watch and observe and see and get guidance from your child as well to say, you know what, I'm too tired, it's too much for me, and sort of pull back. So they guide you.
All right.
Yeah.
And in terms of like where Libon is going to be taking this, I mean, I suppose, she's talking about Olympics. That's and it's the next couple of years, really, because we know that there are athletes at the Olympics. They're 14, they're 15, they're 16. How are you as a family dealing with that and actually like aligning stuff to assist her in reaching her dream?
It's actually it's a balance, because we have to make sure that we create an environment that allows her to thrive, and it's sort of always sort of moving the parts around, and I mean at any point we always say we don't want her to, because if we don't get it right, we know she'll hate something. She'll hate us, the school, or gymnastics. So it's a balance of you know, and getting her to tell us as well. So we don't dictate, because it's not really about us. We in the background, but for her to tell us, okay, I want to go. Like now, you know, she came back on Monday, and yesterday they had practice. She's like, yeah, I want to go. I'm like, okay, sure, you don't want to rest. So it's that. So she tells us, and there'll be days when she says, I don't want to go. And we allow her to sort of, because her body's telling her to rest, and she's also tired. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I want to thank you so much for coming through. Libone, once again, congratulations for the work that you're putting in, as well as the medals that you're winning and that you've got with you right now. And I wish you all your best in with all your schoolwork. Firstly, then definitely with the sport that you've taken up, and hope to see you soon and speaking about you at the next Olympics.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Libone and Botale Tsetlo, congratulations on what you're doing with Libone, and hope to speak to you again very soon.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it. Libone and Botale Tsetlo, a rhythmic gymnast who's winning medals already at the tender age of 11.
Hi there, welcome from the weather desk. South Africa is expecting some hot conditions over the next couple of days. There are still warnings issued out for hot and dry weather towards the Northern Cape as well as over some parts of the Western Cape. But before we go into that, let's take a look at the rainfall. So there's up to a 60% chance of rainfall towards Limpopo province, some parts of Gauteng and over Mpumalanga. Otherwise, just isolated showers along KZN and the Eastern Cape, moving up through Botswana as well as over Namibia, and again widespread showers towards the northern part of the SADC regions. Into Madagascar, also do expect some heavy rainfall along the southern parts, closer towards the western coast, and then also similar conditions are expected for tomorrow on. But for South Africa, there's a bit of movement now coming in from the southwestern parts. Basically, a low pressure cell onshore coming in towards the Western Cape province, and rainy weather is expected today and tomorrow, possibly into your Christmas weekend as well. And then we're expecting the rainy conditions in towards the Free State province and over the northwest, and definitely for Zambia, going towards Malawi once again tomorrow. Temperature-wise, it's going to be hot, and that's why you'll see possibilities of veld fires here over the Northern Cape province, and then also possibilities of severe thunderstorms towards KwaZulu-Natal. So please be on the lookout for those. Some rumble and thunder are expected over the next couple of days. Here are your temperatures. Quite a hot day towards Upington at 39 degrees. And Skukuza will be at around 40. Very hot weather expected for that part of Mpumalanga province. Polokwane at 32 and 35 towards Pretoria. Rainy weather for the southern part and the eastern side of South Africa, including Durban. And then further north, do expect some partly cloudy skies. Temperatures to just get slowly back to normal. Bulawayo at 32 and 28 towards Harare. But Soro is still very hot at 36. And Gaborone takes the cake to being one of the hottest there at 40 degrees this afternoon. Some partly cloudy skies are expected on both sides of the west and the eastern regions of Central Africa, but along the interior do expect some clear conditions towards Banji. 38 is your maximum. Luanda is at 30 degrees, and also, as I mentioned, the rainy weather is expected just along that western coast and also towards the far eastern side. Mombasa and Dar es Salaam should expect just around 30% chance of rainfall. And then for the central parts, clear conditions across the Sahara Desert. Much of the Sahel is expected to be clear and dry. And then a bit of clouds for the northern parts developing over tomorrow, as well as up until Friday, just along Egypt and possibly into Libya as well. A bit of clouds also be coming up along the western side towards Mauritania. And temperatures along those parts will be sky high. If you take a look at Agadez at 31 degrees, they're supposed to be going through a bit of winter, so temperatures should be dropping a bit, just like what you're seeing in Baghdad at around 2 degrees, and Syria's capital at 13. If you're going to be further up north towards Tripoli and Benghazi, do expect those upper teens to carry on for the next couple of days. Marrakech at 17, and then hot weather for Bamako and Niamey. Nothing has changed here. Temperatures as high as 36 and 37 degrees respectively. That's it from the weather. Do stay tuned. There'll be more here later on.
South Africa remains in the grip of a dry spell. It's led to water restrictions imposed across the country. About 20,000 cubic centimeters are being released per second. Authorities say that it could take 10 days. In the meantime, they're appealing to residents to use water sparingly. Transnet says that it's increased its revenue despite the weak economic conditions affecting volumes that it handled.
The company says going forward it will be investing in mergers and acquisition opportunities to expand Transnet services. It says while it does not believe South Africa will be downgraded, it has however begun negotiations with lenders to prepare for any eventualities.
The Free State government has set its sights on exploring the flower industry as a means to grow the economy and boost tourism.
We must put a budget for the flower and grow the economy of the Free State.
It's very good advertising for Paris.
What a wonderful, wonderful place to be in right now.
The KwaZulu-Natal Fashion Council has launched a project to grow the fashion industry. It will showcase young designers' clothing ranges and ensure that it ends up in retail stores.
I remember starting making clothes when I was still quite a child for my dolls. I think my dolls were the best dressed dolls in my neighborhood.
These young designers are proof there's enough talent for local brands to compete on the international stage. The program will ultimately benefit the economy.
It's 1100 hours Central Africa time on this Wednesday, the 21st of December it is, 2016. Hey, it's 4 days before Christmas. Well, this is Newsroom. Welcome to the final hour. I'm Elvis Preslin.
And I'm Renee Vest.
Kendall Makamat is over there. He'll be joining us just now. You know that we're broadcasting live from our Auckland Park studios here in Johannesburg to the rest of the continent. But today, we focus on violent Congolese protests here in our capital city in Pretoria yesterday. So we're asking a question today, Renee.
That's right, Elvis. What are your views on what happened yesterday in Pretoria?
Let us know what's on your mind, and we'll take a look at some of the comments that's coming through currently. There you can see some of the violence happening yesterday in the capital city. Here's a couple here. This one from Andre Albanza. He's been very busy this morning. He says the DRC is very rich, but its people are the poorest of the poorest on the continent and in the world. One can only revolt, he says.
Simon says Kabila has to leave office now to save the country from chaos. Well, a little bit late for chaos.
And Adriel continues. He says, we are scattered all around the world because it is tough to live at home. That's now in the DRC. Most of us want to go back home.
No place like home.
There's no place like home, you're right.
Benny says SA has economic interests in DRC. SA should act to preserve peace and stability by asking Kabila to resign.
Well, we need to see how it unfolds there. And Adriel continues again. As I said, he was very busy this morning. As a Congolese, I condemn any violence. The Congolese should protest peacefully. However, Kabila has to go. Very sobering thought there from Adriel. These are some of your comments coming through. You can keep them coming on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom as well as on the Facebook page. But we're also talking about water, Renee, a very scarce resource here in our country.
Yes, we've had several issues with water over the past few months. So we've been running this poll. South Africa has a water scarcity. Have you implemented water-saving measures at home? 66% of people who voted saying yes, they did, while 19% saying no, and 15% saying, for what? It's been raining.
Yeah, they say Mara, why? 128 votes thus far. You can keep them coming and get them in through. Let's also see what you have to say in relation to this on the Twitter handle. Unati says, why must we implement water, but big companies are not implementing anything to save water and the drought? Hashtag water protectors. I don't know if that is 100% correct, Unati. I've seen a number of companies implementing water-saving measures, but you know, one to its own, hey?
Andile says some people are still using pipes.
It must be pipes, hose pipes, yes.
Yeah, to wash cars or to have fun.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be doing that.
And this one from Siwapiwa says just yes. But Siwapiwa, if you can please expand as to why you say yes to that, and what have you implemented to save some water? Let us know what's on your mind. But first, let's take a look now at your news headlines. The Transport Minister, Depuo Piet, has expressed grave concern over the high number of female drivers who have been reported dead in road crashes because of drunken driving.
Protesters demanding President Joseph Kabila to step down are reported to have been shot dead by security forces in the DRC.
And Islamic State claims responsibility for an attack in which a truck plowed into crowds in a Christmas market and killed 12 people in Germany. Now, these are just some of the things happening around the world. There's also the issue in Mexico where a factory exploded there, Renee.
Yes, Elvis, quite a big story that came out this morning. Around 29 people are reported to have died at I'm not sure if it was a factory, it was more of a market.
And we'll bring that story for you in a short while. But right now, let's first find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening on the sports front.
Well, explosive results coming out of last night. Orlando Pirates getting mugged at home. A lot of people are unhappy. In fact, some people have even left, and I think they're going to go like maybe sink their sorrows in something.
Well, they probably went for Christmas shopping and got mugged at the last minute, eh?
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's I think I get a little bit ahead of myself. Good morning. This is what we've got for you in the sports today. Bloom Celtic can't believe their luck as they mark the mighty Buccaneers in Orlando, bagging all 3 points.
The judge found no substance in the fact that Western Province, or the claims that Western Province acted fraudulently.
The embattled Western Province rugby commercial arm gets let off as they finally get the liquidation order in the Cape High Court. And in tennis, two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova is recovering well after undergoing successful surgery after she was attacked by a knife-wielding intruder in her apartment. All this in more detail we'll be bringing to you at 11:35. We'll also be chatting to KG Munchani, our tennis superstar, wheelchair tennis superstar. Be sure to stick around for all of that. But for now, it is back to Renee, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. A massive explosion at Mexico's biggest fireworks market has reportedly killed at least 29 people and injured 70. The blast set off a series of multicolored eruptions and a vast cloud of smoke over Mexico City. The market was packed with customers buying fireworks for traditional end-of-year festivities. Fire crews struggled for 3 hours before bringing the blaze under control, and homes and vehicles nearby were also damaged. Back home, nearly 850 people have been killed on the country's roads already this month. This is a 17% rise in road fatalities when compared to the same period last year. KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo and Mpumalanga provinces recorded the highest number of crashes, with drunk driving and reckless driving cases being the main cause.
Close to 900 people have died on the roads since the start of December. It's unprecedented. A lack of patience, bad attitudes, and a lack of consideration of the roads are the main behavioral traits by drivers. The Minister of Transport announced these preliminary results at a press briefing in Midrand on Tuesday afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are 845 fatalities recorded since the 1st to the 19th of December 2016, with an increase of 17% in comparison to the previous year.
What seems to be the most concerning is that a higher number of female drivers have been arrested for drunken driving, over 20% of them dying in road crashes.
I have deemed it necessary to urgently convene a meeting with all traffic chiefs and regional directors of provinces with high fatalities to engage and robustly confront the prevailing situation with a view of finding solutions and interventions to reduce these carnages and fatalities.
The cost to the country as a result of road fatalities is estimated at over 149 billion rand.
It's a scientific study that was dealt with together with the CSIR and ourselves as the RTMC. Initially, you guys have been talking about 302 billion. We've done the scientific study and commuted the cost that comes to 149 billion per year.
With 2 more festive season weekends coming up, motorists have been given a stern warning. Obey the rules of the road or else face severe punishment. Nozintombi Mia, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Police have recovered a firearm stolen during a violent protest outside the DRC embassy in Pretoria. A man grabbed the weapon during a violent clash between police and DRC nationals. They are opposing DRC President Joseph Kabila's possible extended term in office.
A group calling themselves the Africa Diaspora Forum. They arrived heavily armed. Later, they stormed the embassy, breaking windows and damaging the main gate. The skirmish led to a police firearm being snatched.
No, I don't make a firearm. I don't make firearm.
The police have managed to recover the firearm in Uvel, and the suspect has been arrested. You can imagine how fast these things is running when they've committed crime. But as much as we are on the ground, we have to manage to locate wherever they are.
And where is the suspect now, the gentleman that you found with the gun?
The suspect now is arrested, is detained in Cleveland, and is going to face the position of stolen firearm charges.
Now, earlier when I spoke to you, you did say that the firearm was loaded. Did you recover it in the same position? Does it still have all the ammunition in it that it was stolen by?
Yes, indeed, it was recovered as it is.
5 people were arrested and 2 injured.
Ben Poko, who's this Congolese ambassador, he does not have any right to stay again, following our constitution.
South Africa cannot contain all Africa. And why are people continuing to come here? Because there is no peace, there is no democracy, there is no freedom. And the Congo today is an illustration of that.
The angry group are resisting Kabila's reign that's stretched over 15 years.
I'm coming here to protest because I want my country to be in peace. They send the police here. Why? We want to go to our land. That's the main purpose for which all these people have gathered here. We go to hospitals. We are not even recognized.
No one from the embassy was available for comment. Patricia Fasahi, SABC News in Pretoria.
Now we are asking you this question of the day. What are your views on what happened yesterday in Pretoria with the DRC nationals and the police that clashed there? Send us your comments to our Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, or send us a Facebook message. That will also do, and we'll have a look at your comments shortly. But moving on to other news, the SANDF has released the name of the South African soldier killed by rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 27-year-old rifleman Mwalosi Albert Mokotu from the Free State province died during running battles with militia on Monday. The South African soldiers are there as part of United Nations peacekeeping mission. The SANDF says its members came under siege from militia and Mai guerrillas in the North Kivu province. Meanwhile, the Congolese government officials say it is impossible for President Joseph Kabila to step down tonight. The president's chief diplomat, Barnabas Kiai, says the move will result in a leadership vacuum. President Kabila's mandate ends at midnight.
Kikaya says a new president must be elected before Kabila may step down. Elections are not due until 2018. Foreign diplomats fear any escalation could trigger a conflict like the 1996 to 2003 wars that killed millions.
Tomorrow the president will be the president of the republic. He will remain the president of the republic because the constitution demands it. Doing otherwise will violate the constitution.
Hundreds of anti-Kabila demonstrators have defied a ban on marches against the president's plans to stay in office. They gathered in the capital Kinshasa amid a heavy military presence. They're demanding the president step down and organize elections that were due this month. At least 80 protesters have been arrested in Goma, eastern DRC. The UN Human Rights Office in Congo says those arrested are mostly activists wearing red shirts and opposition color. Police say 9 opposition demonstrators have been detained. The government and elections officials have blamed logistical and financial problems for the delay in the vote, currently scheduled for April 2018. Some opposition leaders have agreed that President Kabila can remain in office until then. The Constitutional Court has also ruled that the Congolese leader can stay on.
When cell phones get cut off, people say Mdluli was listening. Who are you?
We have to approach Dennis Breitenbach, who was the prosecutor by then.
The DA parliamentarian?
That's correct. The one who was making halabaloo about me.
There are allegations here that you abused the slush fund. What do you say to that?
We don't have slush fund. I don't know about slush fund.
I respect the fact that you cannot talk a lot about the Secret Service and all that. I guess that's the norm internationally.
Yeah.
But how do we know that you, Richard Mdluli, are not abusing the funds of the state? You are counted amongst the president's men. Are you?
That is rubbish.
Also the matter of General Boysen in KZN. He's not speaking very well of you.
No, that one is talking rubbish.
You are perceived to be very powerful, General, and you know, people who don't agree with you seem to pay the price. What is happening with the Oparamkhube case?
No, I'm surprised because, as I've said, I'm a person of people.
that paperwork.
Where is your
Give me that paperwork.
Where is your paperwork?
Like I'm everything, I don't know what's going on. Suddenly I'm locked up.
This is not fair, Senator Basietan. Not fair.
Who puts a rent 200? Have you put like 200? Urwana, we won. 150, 150 plus. Koloi, Leon, let me in another one, 150.
I'm just the one to lock you out.
Yes,
I
you
have
just
the
want to
keys.
lock me then out.
You are starting gangsterism.
No!
COSATU's former General Secretary Zuma has thrown his hat in the race to lead the new federation to be launched in the new year. Now, Vavi previously said that he would not avail himself for a leadership role to allow new unionists and young blood to lead, but he's now open to persuasion. In a wide-ranging interview with the SABC, Vavi also invited COSATU to form part of the federation.
I think we have done very, very well. And in fact, we're very excited that we will be launching the new federation in March, not in 2016, but in March of 2017. We've done absolutely wonderful job to get us on the track towards a launch of what will be truly democratic, independent, and campaigning trade union federation. We've drafted a constitution which is now a subject of a mass discussion by our members. We have been into the workers' summit in April that gave us a go-ahead to go and forge ahead, establish a new federation. We have begun to even to run some campaigns. We have been in the forefront of the fees must fall, for example. We have been in the forefront of the outsourcing must fall in the universities. We have taken up the battles of the community healthcare workers for their contracts to be transferred from temporal, outsourced to permanent. And we've begun to shake the tree. And we're happy with that. As we close 2016, actually we are on cloud 9. We're absolutely excited with the prospect that finally South African workers will say goodbye to this class peace and holiday that have been going on for many, many years since the capture of COSATU, and will liberate themselves and begin to lead their own struggles to say to South Africans there can be no complete democracy here or anywhere else in the world if the trade union movement is weak, fragmented, divided, and which is beginning to be increasingly irrelevant to the interest of ordinary people. We're turning that. Next year is going to be a year in complete difference. Even before we launch in March, we will be running up and down in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We will be picketing outside the State of the Nation address. We will hold a general strike when the budget is being tabled. And we will hold a series of other demonstrations, including a mass recruitment campaign, which will be combined with a campaign to ensure that the gains that were secured by workers' struggles in 2015, that says that workers mustn't be kept on a temporal basis after 3 months of employment. We will make sure that those things are enforced in law. We will be walking street to street in every town. We will be in every industrial area recruiting workers, confronting the company bosses, and demanding at least that what is in the legislation must be implemented.
Well, some analysts argue that the weakening of COSATU has been because it's playing in a political space. Pre-1994, the formation of the alliance, this is COSATU, the ANC as well as the SACP, was probably a good idea, but then the problem becomes when you have an alliance partner, and the ANC being the governing party, the one that's leading the government, and that's where the problem really starts. You said, looking back at what happened in 2007, when COSATU came out publicly and supported President Jacob Zuma, that could have led to the divisions not only within the alliance but also within COSATU?
Absolutely correct in your analysis. The question is absolutely a good question. With the benefit of the hindsight, we have been saying to one another that probably the alliance was the best thing this country needed in the struggle against the apartheid system. But in our view, the alliance should have been terminated the day the ANC adopted GIE as its macroeconomic policy, which is basically an anti-worker, pro-business economic strategy going forward. We stayed in naively thinking that we can influence the ANC from inside as members, and we can use the mighty power of COSATU to twist its arms and to make sure that it abandons that strategy and go back to the RTP and the Freedom Charter. We failed. I mean, year in, year out, changing a president and moving into the next president from Nelson Mandela to Thabo Mbeki to Jacob Zuma. The unions have just, in COSATU, have failed to change the government's economic policy. Now, here's the contradiction. You cannot be in an alliance with a political party, worst of all, that is a governing party, but whose major program of transformation, the economic policy, is an anti-you, the person who claimed to be in alliance, anti your interest, anti the interest of your own members. And then you just religiously maintain the alliance and hope that a miracle is coming. And slowly COSATU abandoned ship, in my view, abandoned the principles and embraced the principles that will be about what is in the best interest of its leaders instead of its members. Its leaders were very keen to be full-time politicians, to be in parliament, to be chairperson of the standing committees, to be in cabinet, and all of that. And workers suffered. And that's why COSATU eventually imploded, because it was refocused away from the interest of its own members. And we have learned that lessons. And that's why the biggest principle that seems to work as a glue in the new federation is a determination by everybody, those who were inside COSATU and those who were outside the federation, who say the trade union movement ought to be independent, but not apolitical. It must be independent from both the bosses in public and private sector. It must be independent from any political party. It must be able to criticize any political party, any business associations, policies that are hostile to the interest of workers. But then it cannot afford to be apolitical, because the unions and the politics are like a tongue and a saliva. The other one cannot survive with the other one. We need an appropriate political climate for us to thrive. We need a pro-working class governments to drive a pro-poor agenda for the unions to have much more strength. We need an economy that responds to the interest of all of our people for us to survive on our daily activities as the trade unions.
Has there been any interest from COSATU affiliates to form part of this new federation?
Yep. Look, COSATU should know, as I was saying, that it is dying a slow, painful death. And that death will be intensified in 2017. And there's almost nothing that they can do to resuscitate themselves now. And they are in the ICU, and very soon somebody is going to declare them officially dead. Their unions are going to leave it, and 2 unions already have announced that they are leaving the federation after holding their national conferences this year. NUMSA, which did this in December, is only the 3rd. And I expect that the rest of next year, starting from from March when Sasau holds its Congress, to April to June when the Football Players Union hold the Congress, right until October next year when Sakao hold their Congress. All of them and others are going to say the COSATU that Jay Naidu, Elijah Bakai, Sidney Mufamadi, Makululu Dwaba, and others built is no more, have been killed by Jacob Zuma and Blade Nzimande, primarily. That's what happened. The people who will hold the death certificate of COSATU in their hands when there is that ceremony to say goodbye to it ought to be President Jacob Zuma and the General Secretary of the SACP, Blade Nzimande. But that's history. We can't cry over spilt milk. The movement have been killed, literally. Workers have been dismissed from it in their hundreds and thousands. What do? We rebuild the movement from the ashes of the old.
Looking at the 2016 local government election results and the performance of the United Front, do you think that they were too quick to venture into contesting the elections, considering the numbers that they stood at and the number of votes that they got?
Look, the United Front is not a political party, was never meant to be a political party. And the rush to make it go contest local government election, irrespective of the fact that it is not actually a political party, was probably a mistake. That was committed by those who had said there is a great pressure on the ground for the United Front to avail of an alternative to the ANC to be put on the run to contest the elections in August. The results didn't show that there was a big switch for a United Front that was hardly launched. In fact, you know that the United Front has not even been launched as an organization. And the United Front was meant to be an organ that will unite the trade unions, the civil society, and even political parties that are sick and tired of the neoliberal programs of the GN NTP, of privatization, commodification of our basic services, including education. It was meant to be a grassroots organization that will coordinate this service delivery protest that is going to link the students' struggles for free education with the unemployed struggles for a transformed economy that will benefit them as well. And it has not taken off the ground. To be honest with you, I think that we must be using this period to think again about what a united front should be, what campaigns it should be running, what should its guiding principles, and how it should unite those people who are opposed to neoliberalism in the practical sense of creating an organization that will remind us of the days of the United Democratic Front. And I think that, in fact, I have great proposals that I want to subject to a collective discussion, that a United Front must perhaps be relaunched by end of the year in 2017 as a broad front of organizations that are opposed to neoliberalism. Political parties that are on the left, civil society formations that are on the left and progressive, trade union movements that are battling against neoliberalism in the workplace and in the society. All of those people must be united behind a united front as a campaigning structure, not a political party, as a campaigning structure that will serve as a glue, that will knit together all of the struggles of ordinary people, and to give them a voice.
Suggestions have been that that political party could be the EFF. Do you think that would work?
It won't work. The EFF is not a united front. It is a political party. Yes, it is playing its space and it is doing its best that it can to be the voice of the most marginalized in society. But a united front will be an attempt to bring all of the organizations who think like that the Freedom Charter, for example, the nationalization of commanding heights of the economy, and the free education, issues of free water, free healthcare, an economy that is inclusive, that works for the benefit of all people and not just a small minority of shareholders. and yes to right to water, yes to right to other such basic services that municipalities must be providing. That should be the platform of a united front. And in South Africa, as a lot of people usually say, there are so much of our people's grievances that are lying unattended, precisely because there's no organizations that do that. Our people take up campaigns and for better houses in Situesa, and then that campaign disappears in the next week because it is not properly coordinated. They take up a campaign in Diepsloot, and that campaign disappears, and some people are protesting in Matiba village. That campaign disappear. We need a coordinated campaign, and that's the only way we can raise the consciousness of the poor to be the same levels as that of the class that exploit the working class.
So March 2017 is the big launch of this new federation, and the question is, what will Zwelinzima Vavi be doing? Will Zwelinzima Vavi avail himself to serve in the leadership structures of this federation?
My 100% focus now is on the new federation. In fact, I want to think of nothing else except to help, working with other leaders, deliver to South African workers a trade union movement that is politically not compromised. And let's talk after March. I'll answer that question. Because I don't know whether I've said in the past publicly, I don't want to avail myself to be the General Secretary or to occupy any full-time office bearer position for the new federation. I had thought that the time for younger, more militant leaders to take over have arrived, and I accept that that should be the direction, and that's what my call has been to the rest of the trade union movement, that they must accept that as a reality. But at the same time, I am not a one-person show, and if everybody says it will not help us unite the workers if you step aside after the federation have been launched, I'll listen to that. And but my preference is to stay outside, is to deliver the new federation and to get new leadership to take it over and to do hopefully what it promises the South African workers to be, a true champion of their interest in the workplace and in the broader society.
Of South Africa's celebrities were battling it out for 40 grand at the 5th annual Celebrity Cook-Off in Witbank.
We look forward to welcoming everybody to Emlahleni because this is the place of coal.
For a starter, I'll give you guys 45 minutes to prepare, and the main course will be 1 hour 30 minutes.
The team name is Iniqua Stars, the clever choices. Yes! Manora Apita.
3 Michelin stars.
Yes!
Like a niece, 2. Drum roll! Swami and the defending champion the Michelin star!
That's Trends Travel every Sunday, 12 to 1 p.m. on SABC News.
It was bound to be an interesting debate with Donald and Hillary, him not even having bothered to prepare. So he was flying on instinct. And it didn't come across quite well. I'm starting a hashtag, medical fees must fall. There are many students who are protesting who are not necessarily violent. The students are saying the issue is how to implement, whereas the Commission's mandate is to look at
feasibility. Yeah. Among these countries, only South Africa allows same-sex marriages. Very concerning indeed, Prof.
Your sexual orientation does not demean your own humanity, doesn't make you less of a human being. That really is the essence.
Good morning, welcome back. It's time for the sport. I'm Kendall Makhamat and I sure am glad to be here. Our top story is on the Absa Premiership, where title contenders Bidvest Wits were held to a 1-1 draw by 10-man Maritzburg United and Pietermaritzburg last night. The result, however, has pushed Wits to the top of the standings, ahead of Cape Town City. In last night's other matches, Bloem Celtic beat Orlando Pirates 2-1, while Highlands Park drew 2-2 with Platinum Stars.
The first half at the Harry Gwala Stadium failed to produce any goals. Just before the break, however, Maritzburg midfielder Kurt Lenkies received his marching orders after a bad challenge on Pumlani Njangase. With 20 minutes to go, the clever boys finally hit the back of the net through forward Cuthbert Malajila. Wits' joy, however, was short-lived. Despite being a man down, the hosts refused to give up, and their fighting spirit was rewarded when Mohau Mukate equalized 4 minutes later. Wits now top the table with 25 points, just ahead of Cape Town City on goal difference.
Oh, to be fair, I mean, we had dominated the game, dominate the ball, but don't score. You got to, there's nothing much you can do about it. But I don't think it was a great performance, but I mean, it was a performance that was well worth 3 points for us. Easy.
At Orlando Stadium, the home side drew first blood when Opa Manisa scored an easy goal in the 11th minute. The boys from Bloem missed a golden opportunity to equalize in the 70th minute. But moments later, a long ball from Palane bounced into the Buccaneers' box.
Tendai Toro, and well, it's gone, it has gone in. I thought it was going wide of the target. So an embarrassing goal for Orlando Pirates, and an even worse one by the Buccaneers.
And in the dying seconds, Ricozzo scored the winner to hand the visitors a handy 3 points and move to 12th place on the standings. And Highlands Park let a 2-goal lead slip at home against Platinum Stars. Motobi Mvala and Charlton Mashumba scored for the hosts within the first 30 minutes. But Robert Ngambi and Benson Shilongo spoiled Highlands' party, both finding the back of the net before the break. With the result, Highlands finished on 13 points from 15 matches, 1 point behind Dikwena. Liesel Zankel, SABC News.
And in tennis, two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova is recovering well from a successful 4-hour surgical process after suffering a career-threatening injury to her playing hand. She was attacked in her apartment by a knife-wielding intruder who gained entry by masquerading as a gas man on Tuesday, the 20th of December. The Czech world number 11 said before undergoing surgery that the attack had left her shaken but fortunate to be alive. She'd said on Twitter, "In my attempt to defend myself, I was badly injured on my left hand. The injury is severe and I will need to see specialists. But if you know anything about me, I'm strong and I will fight this." The attack happened in her flat in the city of Prostějov, about 260 kilometers southeast of Prague, the location of a tennis club where she, men's world number 10 Thomas Berdych, and other top-ranked Czech players often train. The 26-year-old had been due late in the day to play a charity event in the Czech Republic's second biggest city, Brno, alongside compatriot Lucy Safarova. The pair have been fixtures in the Czech Fed Cup team that has won the Premier Women's Team Tennis event in 5 of the last 6 years. Now we stay with tennis, where South Africa's leading women's wheelchair tennis ace Kgothatso Montjane put the finishing touches to her magnificent season by beating her doubles partner Charlotte Famin from France 7-5, 6-3 to win her very first Prague Cup singles title, an International Tennis Federation Level 2 event in the Czech Republic. Now, she's here with us right now to come chat to us a little bit about it, as well as this disturbing news that we've just heard about Petra Kvitova. Very, very happy to hear that she survived the surgery and it's very good. Good morning to you, and thanks for coming through.
Yeah, morning to you too, Kendall. Yeah, I mean, it's a very sad news, looking at her. She's a good player. Obviously, she will duly be missed in the coming season. Australian Open is a very big tournament, and players like her are so competitive. So, it's sad news, but we can only wish her well so that she can recover and be back to the game. Yeah,
we're certainly hoping that, it's very quick. It's 3 months to say she can't take any weight on that hand. But you know what? She survived it. She's okay. Let's talk about you. You've just been to the Czech Republic. In fact, that's one of the main reasons we're talking to you now. You went in there and you did a double. But, I mean, not just a double. Let me see if I've got this right. And I want to make sure that I've got it right, because I spent a lot of time looking at it, because what you did was you took your doubles partner on in the singles tournament, right? You beat her, then you joined up with her again, and the two of you went and beat the opposition. You're pretty much a one-woman wrecking machine.
You know, I mean, the name of the sport, it's competitive, you know. You can't say it's your double partner, you need to be lenient on them and all that. I mean, at the end of the day, I still need to compete, regardless that she was my doubles partner. She was a good doubles partner. That's why we managed to even scoop a title. But when coming to singles, I mean, it was a very tense match at the beginning for me because, yeah, I didn't know what to expect. But other than that, I managed to settle down, and I wanted this title so bad, looking at how I performed the whole year. So a win, it was something that, you know, it's going to be a confident boost getting into the new year.
And you didn't drop a single set in the process.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I was playing on a carpet for the first time. It was very heavy to push and all that. But as time goes by, when you play indoor, the ball doesn't have any effect. So, I mean, I managed to gain strength and power. So I played really powerfully, which I mean, that's how I dominated, because the serve was the most important thing to rely on. And I mean, in an indoor court, there's no wind, there's nothing, there's no sun. So I just had to go all out and make sure that I deliver.
Very interesting that. In fact, let me get into this question. What's key for you in your preparation? I mean, you're playing on carpet for the first time. So in your preparation for these tournaments and these matches that you play, is it the mental part that you focus on, or is it your physical conditioning that you work on most, or is it your skills set that you focus on?
I mean, you know, honestly, in wheelchair tennis, mobility plays 90% of the game. I mean, I need to know how to move with the chair. I mean, since you can see, I walk on my daily basis. Mm-hmm. So getting on court, I work a lot on how to move in a chair, how to maneuver, how to get out on the space and all that. Because when the ball comes to the board, I should be able to, you know, create space and hit it. So I spent a lot of the time trying to work on my mobility, doing mobility drills and all that. I mean, skills, I can't really say much, because when you're talented, you don't really have to spend too much time on that. And one thing, again, is spending time on game tactics, because, I mean, just hitting the ball over the net, that's really easy, but you need to know what to do with that ball and when to do it. So those are the things that I really focus on when I train.
Now, thank you very much for those insights. And I also want to check with you, just a month before you won your very first Prague Cup singles title, you went and won your second US Open Super Series doubles. That must have felt quite pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, looking at when I go to the US, I didn't really even have a doubles partner. So I just had to pick anyone who didn't have a partner. Wow. And obviously, me playing with her, I didn't really have any goals of winning a tournament, because I didn't know what to expect from her. But, you know, she played very solid, and which it was good. I mean, I normally just play with random people. Sometimes you don't trust your partner, because you don't know how they play and all that. But you know, it was a good teamwork, and she showed perseverance, and she was working hard, and it was very impressive, because actually it was her first title of the year. Wow. in doubles. She didn't win any singles this year, but that was her first title, so you can imagine. So it was.
And this is Charlotte again?
No, that's Macarena from Chile in America. So I mean, it was a good thing that I could play with her and share my experience, because she's a player who ranks out of the top 20. So you can imagine me playing as a leading role in that match. It really meant a lot to her.
Is that standard, though, that you need to pick up partners as you go into tournaments? Surely it must be a little unsettling on your prep.
Yeah, it is. I mean, looking at I'm the only leading player in South Africa, and my number 2 ranks, like, I don't know, in the top 20 or 30. So I don't really have anyone to support me going out there. Getting a doubles partner is always a hassle for me. So I just try to give my best. Whoever is willing to play with me, it's the only thing I can appreciate. Then looking at, you know, these youngsters are coming, and they would boost me as time goes by.
Going forward, I mean, have you got plans with either Charlotte or with Macarena? Who it is that you're going to be playing with? Which tournaments have you been able to set up those plans?
Next year, I'm going to play with Sabine from Germany. I'm going to play with Dana from USA. So I'm trying to get someone that I can play with consistently, but simply because it's not everyone who plays same tournament, so that's a bit of a struggle just to getting a consistent partner. But we'll see as the year goes by. You know, for me, I think doubles it's one game that I'm more comfortable with. So for me, it's more about being the leading player and guiding another player so that they can be a better player.
Talking about the weight of being the leading player, at the Paralympics you didn't do as well as we'd expected, and I'm sure as you'd expected either. Was being the only African woman playing in the Paralympic tennis tournament, did it actually affect your performance in any way, that weight?
Not really, that didn't really has any impact to do with how I performed in the Paralympics. I think for me this year I went through a lot of changes, which I still feel like it wasn't a smart move for me as an athlete, because I changed like training bases, changed coaches and all that, because I felt like I needed change, but I feel like it's something that I should have held back and wait for Paralympics to pass. So I was going through changes. I mean, that's what affected me more during Paralympics, trying to invent new things instead of sticking with what I know.
No, you've definitely found a winning formula now, because here you are. You've won a couple of tournaments since then, picking up a US Open, as well as also winning your very first Prague Cup singles title and the doubles. Congratulations on that. We certainly wish you the best going into the new year. KG, thanks so very much for coming to join us.
Thank you very much.
There you have it, KG Munchani, leading tennis player from South Africa, who's doing extremely well for herself, picking up doubles partners as she goes, but still managing to win those titles. Now today we're going to end the show with a performance. Bahati unleashes her beautiful sounds in the field of Afro pop, and she sings Ikaya. Enjoy it.
Swallow